Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with some EDC content. Today, I wanted to talk about Tudor watches. I'm certainly not going to be getting into the tech specs, so to speak, about different movements, etc. But I just wanted to give my initial impressions and kind of like where I stand, where I've been with Tudor, and, kind of what I think of the company and the watches writ large. My history with Tudor. So the first time I had even heard of Tudor, I was actually in an airport in Kuwait, honestly, which is kind of weird. And the more research I did, and this was probably 5 years ago. Tudor to me was kind of just known as like the poor man's Rolex. Like, oh, you couldn't afford a Rolex, so you went with a Tudor, which my mind has completely changed on that. Like having owned, a lot of the big brands, including, still owning a Rolex. Tudors and it they're in a category of themselves, and just to compare them to Rolex is pretty unfair, I think. There are similarities certainly in lineage, etc., between Rolex and Tudor. I kind of compare Tudor and Rolex. It's kind of akin to Rolex's more athletic brother. As a company, they're more daring in their designs and just way more competitive with pricing, that's for sure. So Tudor definitely takes chances, and most every time they completely hit it out of the park. So far, I've owned three Tudors, including this one. I had a Black Bay Pro, which I bought. I did like it. It was a little bit small for me. I did not get one on a bracelet. It was just kind of it was a great watch for sure, but the yellow is the accent color, just really didn't speak to me so much, and so I moved on from that. The other Tudor that I've had is going to be the left-hand drive, which huge fan of that. Obviously, the crown is on the left-hand side. It's going to be a black bezel, black face. It has white script with a roulette wheel, and then one Pelagos kind of line. It was good. I mean, I thought it was classy. The red kind of popped on it, but honestly, having that Pelagos left-hand drive, and then my main watch, this Rolex Submariner that is also black. It just wasn't different enough, to be honest with you. And I found the Tudor left-hand drive was kind of competing with my Rolex Submariner, and I wanted them to be kind of like two separate entities, realizing that the Pelagos is larger, kind of more modern looking than the Rolex Submariner, but there they are, kind of side by side. The next one that I bought is going to be the one that you're looking at right now, which is the Pelagos Blue. And I went with this one because I did like the left-hand drive. I like how it has a titanium case, titanium bracelet. Love like the 3D nature of the face, what it looks like, but I needed it to be different from the Submariner to kind of warrant having them. And this has been awesome. Like I know it's a little bit non-traditional, I would say, the blue, but it's a super nice blue, pretty subtle while still sticking out, I think. And I don't know, I couldn't be happier. I definitely see myself owning this Tudor Pelagos Blue for a while. And with that, I honestly, the purpose of me doing this video is just, someone who's on the fence or looking into Tudor as a brand. Who is this right for, right? So like, who's the Pelagos good for? I think at least the Tudor Pelagos LHD, it's great for someone who doesn't have the coin for a Submariner, and or they prefer something bigger. This Submariner, I believe it's 39 millimeters. This Pelagos is definitely 42 millimeters. Both wear fine on my wrist, so actually I like both. I kind of like the differences when I'm wearing them. The other person that I think the Pelagos, at least in this case, which kind of applies to me, is for someone who already has a sub but they want a more modern option. Really do like the blue face, the titanium, but that being said, the titanium is not polishable. So the Rolex Submariner being stainless, you can take it to a jeweler. I mean, Lord knows this Rolex at one point was completely beat up. You can easily put a shine to it, and that's pretty commonplace. The Tudor titanium, you're really not going to be able to polish it, so keep that in mind. And Honestly, it's different than the Submariner. As you see with these things side by side, it's a different look, different feel. I don't know. I think those are the people that the Pelagos would be good for. If you are thinking about picking up a Pelagos, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different kinds, and a couple items that I wanted to foot stomp with all that. The first being, I really would avoid the Pelagos 39 or the FXD. As far as the 39 goes, and I'll post a picture of it. The indices, so on the dial, it's not three-dimensional. I don't know if you'll be able to see here when I hold it up. I'll try to post the picture, I guess. But, these indices are, they're going to like stick up. So it's three-dimensional. You kind of get this little like ramp down to the bottom of the dial there. So the face of this watch is going to be much more three-dimensional and kind of interesting and intricate to look at. The Pelagos 39, the indices are just kind of painted on, I believe, or just kind of slapped on. It just doesn't look very three-dimensional to me. Also on the 39, there's not going to be a date complication, and also I can't foot stomp this enough, and this goes into the FXD as well. One of the major reasons you buy a Pelagos is for the bracelet. I cannot foot stomp this enough. Like, this bracelet is so awesome in the micro adjustments. What I normally do, just, as an example, so, when I'm waking up in the morning, you actually see you pull down on this, it's like spring loaded. I'll usually start on that second micro adjustment. That lasts me through, the end of my workout. After my workout, when I put this back on, I normally have to, pull this down, and then I'll let it sit on this, which it's actually going to be spring loaded, which it's actually a stainless steel mechanism in there. But this throughout the day will flex with your wrist, and it's very subtle but so comfortable. I find, I do prefer watches to be tighter when I'm not kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. I guess I'm a little bit bloated, if you will. But with that, I usually err on the side of keeping my watches looser just because of that. So this Rolex Submariner is very loose, but with the Tudor Pelagos, I can actually lock it down when the time calls for it. And then, when it gets hotter during the day, like it is right now in the afternoon, I can set it on this and it becomes very, very comfortable. Like, I can't say that enough. Like, it's pretty cool. You can see it flexing right there. Super comfortable, super nice. But keep in mind, you will not get this bracelet with the Pelagos 39 or the FXD. And the FXD is, if you like the blue, but you're like, oh man, should I go with the Pelagos FXD or, your more traditional Pelagos? Go with the more traditional one, because that FXD is going to have fixed lugs and, as well as not having a date. But having fixed lugs on this really hamstrings it. And like I said, I really can't foot stomp enough that you're missing out on one of the best features of having a Pelagos is going to be that titanium bracelet right there, for sure. So that would be my, kind of tip if you're looking at getting a Pelagos. Yeah, I think just to sum things up, Tudor is a brand. I think it's an awesome investment or initial run into higher end watches. Tudor has shown they hold their value. There's tons of deals on the secondary. My one word of caution, if you do buy a Tudor, make sure you get one with a box and papers. These things really lose their value when you don't have the card, box, and papers. Kind of like anything in the EDC community, so it shouldn't be a tremendous surprise to you. But from what I've seen, Tudors, more than anything, they take a huge hit when you don't have the box and papers, like almost as bad as Omega, I would say. So with that, just wanted to give you a rundown of the Tudor Pelagos. I've had this for about 2 months now. I wear it, equally. It splits time with my Rolex Submariner now, and I couldn't be happier with it. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Again, this wasn't a very, tech savvy, getting into the tech specs of, these two watches, but, wanted to give a comparison and my thoughts on Tudor as a brand. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.